Now, your forecast first on Local 22 News.
Hi folks, Sky Tracker meteorologist Haley Boulay here on a beautiful Thursday evening. I know I say that all the time, but over the Champlain Valley right now, it is gorgeous. Temperatures are comfortable. It's not the case everywhere. There are a few spot showers that we have to track out. One passing through the Northeast Kingdom at this hour. You can see right about to the interstate Derby line. We're heading towards Holland. Morgan seeing a little bit of light rain in the next few minutes. Newport, it's on the other side of you. Got a quick spot shower down towards Brandon and a few more showers off in towards the St. Lawrence River Valley. These showers are falling apart as they move further and further to the west end as we head past sunset, but look at those temperatures, mid-70s. It's gorgeous out here. We are tracking out some more heat though as we head into the weekend forecast as we start now here on Local 22.
This is Local 22 News at 6.
Thanks for joining us on a Thursday night. I'm Lauren Maloney. Well, after a 5-month process, the Starbucks located on Shelburne Road in South Burlington has made history, becoming the first in the state to unionize. Local 22's Josh Morrill got to speak with a person that helped spearhead this event, and he is now live in the studio with more. Josh?
Yeah, Lauren, ballots were sent out the last week of June for workers at the Shelburne Road Starbucks to fill out and mail back to decide whether or not to move forward with the formation of a union. Only 6 votes were sent in and counted in time, and they amounted to a 4-2 majority in favor of the decision to unionize. And when I spoke with a supervisor at the store earlier today, she told me that it all started with an employee coming up to her pleading for a raise.
Started out with just me having a conversation with somebody in our back room who was talking to me about wanting to ask for a pay raise, and I had to tell them that Starbucks does not give merit-based pay raises.
The results of the vote will be certified in the National Labor Relations Board. Habits noted that lawyers at the Workers United Labor Union helped consult the store and that they sought guidance from the members of other stores that have gone through similar processes. She also said that the wages were the primary reason for wanting to unionize, but that improvements in upkeep to the store were factors as well. Live in the studio, Josh Morrill, Local 22 News.
Josh, Vermont State Police, along with the state's Emergency Management Department, have teamed up to create a new active shooter drills program. Local 22's Michael Miller is live in the newsroom to tell us just what it entails.
Lauren, the Vermont Police are running a new training program called Survive Vermont, and they hope it will help all Vermonters in an active shooter situation. It combines 3 concepts from current federal programs: see something, say something, run, hide, and fight, and stop the bleed. School Safety Coordinator Rob Evans says the see something, say something part of the program will hopefully help law enforcement identify a potential threat before it turns violent.
There is a shred of information or somebody has said something to someone that if the authorities had been made aware, or we have been able to connect the dots prior to these tragedies taking place, then maybe, just maybe, we could have stopped them.
State police say that while there are only 2 scheduled postings right now, the goal is to do 8 more near each barracks in the state, and they encourage all community members to take part. Live in the newsroom, Michael Miller, Local 22 News.
The Buffalo community came together today to reflect on the 2-month anniversary of the Tops supermarket shooting. They also solemnly commemorated the upcoming reopening of the fully renovated store. The Tops supermarket will have increased security coverage both inside and outside. It will also include a number of memorials. The store will reopen tomorrow. Also today, a federal grand jury returned an indictment charging the alleged Buffalo shooter with federal hate crimes. One of the last county-owned nursing homes in New York State will be sold. The Clinton County Nursing Home hasn't been able to generate enough revenue to provide the care needed. The county legislature made the decision last night. The nursing home is licensed to care for 80 residents, but only 52 currently live there. The county has not been able to fill more than 50 positions. The legislature will financially support the nursing home until it is sold It is looking for a buyer that can offer more flexibility and potentially higher wages. A Connecticut man is facing a laundry list of charges, accused of leading state troopers on a chase through 4 Northeast Kingdom towns yesterday afternoon. 19-year-old Raquan Knight pleaded not guilty today. Police say he was driving recklessly in Newport when they tried to stop him Wednesday. He took off, driving through Brownington, Orleans, and then Barton at speeds of over 120 miles per hour. He eventually crashed into a field in Barton. Police tracked him down after Knight and his passengers took off into the woods. Police found suspected cocaine and fentanyl on him. The passengers were identified as juveniles. Governor Phil Scott is at Thunder Road right now for the race named after his position, but before play, it was time for work. He joined counterparts from around the nation at the National Governors Association summer meetings in Portland, Maine. The governors spoke on items such as education, technology, energy efforts, and the economy. These are photos, by the way, from social media. You can see Governor Chris Sununu. Other governors there included Charlie Baker, Ned Lamont, and Maine's Janet Mills. It is berry picking season, and at some local farms, blueberries are in short supply because bees are also in short supply. And it's proving to be a real challenge. Here now is Local 22's Dana Casulo reporting from Williston.
At the Isham family farm in Williston, mid-July usually means it's time for one thing: blueberries.
I love eating blueberries.
Me too. I can't wait to try one.
But this year it's different. There are fewer blueberries on the bushes, and the reason is fewer bees on the farm to help with pollination.
You know, we had really good growth this year of the bushes. So I thought we were going to have a great year, but then once I started looking closer, I realized that, we didn't have as many berries.
You would typically see lots of blueberries right here, but now it's pretty empty.
Well, I think lack of bumblebees we're seeing it with the honeybees as well. It's across all the crops. It's a lack of, open land, lack of their habitat, also increased pesticide use. People have lawns, they spray pesticides on their lawns.
The president for the Vermont Beekeepers Association says the bee numbers have been dropping for years.
And in the case of last fall, you've got a weather situation. So there was poor foraging conditions last fall. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't great. So the bees going into the winter had poorer nutrition than usual.
Not every farm is struggling. At Adams Apple Orchard and Farm Market in Williston, the owner says they do not have a problem with their bees.
We've been picking all day. We just came up with, I think, 12 flats, and there's more to come. There was no shortage of berries. I didn't see any problems. That's all done by natural bees.
Back at Isham's, Mike wants to remind people how essential bees can be.
Most of the food that we eat today has been pollinated by bees, either honeybees or bumblebees. So if we like to eat, if we want to have food from farms, we need to have a healthy bee population.
Because as they say, you get more bees with honey, but you need bees to get berries. Dana Casulo, Local 22 News.
For the first time in more than 2 years, breakfast on the farm is back in person. A look at the preparations ahead of the most important meal of the day, Saturday.
And I'm Taylor Viles here in Barrie for the Governor's Cup. Coming up, we will have a preview of the Cup, plus thoughts from some of the racers about the race.
A live look at the U.S. Supreme Court nearly 24 hours after we learned Supreme Court justices are considering whether to overturn the landmark 1973 ruling. Good evening. Thanks for being here on a Tuesday night. I'm Lauren Maloney. It has been a day of powerful statements on both sides after a draft opinion obtained by Politico shows there is no constitutional right to abortion services. This would quickly split the country into states with and without abortion access. We have team coverage tonight, including reaction from Vermonters and from our region's top officials. But we start in Washington, where Local 22's Jesse Tenur is at the High Court with a look at what happens next.
Good evening. The court has confirmed the authenticity of the leaked draft opinion, but stresses it's not the justice's final word. Still, though, many here in Washington are not waiting for their final ruling at the end of the court's term this summer to take action.
It's really quite a radical decision.
President Joe Biden blasted a leaked draft Supreme Court opinion written by Justice Samuel Alito. If issued, it would throw out the landmark Roe v. Wade ruling, setting off protests both for and against abortion rights in front of the High Court Tuesday.
I hope there are not enough votes for it.
But the court's 6-3 conservative majority almost guarantees there will be enough votes to overturn Roe, which set off a push by Democrats like Senators Maria Cantwell and Debbie Stabenow to pass legislation protecting abortion rights.
The majority of American people support this policy as settled law.
It all comes down to who should make decisions about your health, your life, and your future.
Past efforts in Congress to codify Roe have failed, and Republicans, including South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, still oppose it.
Repealing Roe v. Wade, in my opinion, is the right constitutional answer.
While many GOP lawmakers share Graham's view, Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell also criticized the leak as an unprecedented breach of the High Court's secret deliberation process.
Almost certainly in an effort to stir up an inappropriate pressure campaign to sway an outcome.
And Kansas Senator Roger Marshall blames the president's party.
This shouldn't surprise us a bit. This is what Democrats do when they lose the ball game.
Chief Justice John Roberts has ordered an investigation into the leak. While Republicans are calling for a swift punishment, Democrats are warning that this likely ruling would put other rights at risk, like same-sex marriage and birth control. In Washington, I'm Jessie Tenor.
Right away, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders said he is in favor of ending the filibuster, saying Congress must pass legislation that codifies Roe. He is in favor of ending the filibuster and passing it with 50 Senate votes instead of 60. President Biden said he is not ready to make that judgment now, but he does believe codifying Roe v. Wade makes sense. From the steps of the highest court in the land, a local group is holding a silent vigil in Essex Junction in support of reproductive rights. Local 22's Dana Casulo is there now live at Five Corners, where she spoke with advocates earlier today. Dana?
Lauren, these people have been outside for over an hour holding signs to support women's rights. Kelly Adams, a local activist leader, says they are not going to stand for this anymore. Kelly Adams leads a local activist group called Essex Resist.
I just felt so much rage and so much grief, because what we're fundamentally talking about here is whether or not 50% of our population has human rights.
As a mother, she says she's concerned for her children.
I don't want my daughters to have fewer rights than my own mother had. That's the wrong direction to be going in.
In Vermont, what's known as Prop 5 will go before voters in November. It's an amendment to the state constitution that would safeguard the right to reproductive liberty, regardless of any future decision by the U.S. Supreme Court. Law professor Jared Carter says there is pressure for the court to issue its decision quickly.
The reality is this was a draft written by one justice who we know is hostile to the right anyway. And it's very unclear how many members of the court support this draft decision and how many oppose it.
The vice president of public affairs with Planned Parenthood Vermont Action Fund says she saw this coming for years.
I think people in Vermont think, oh, nothing bad like that would happen in Vermont. Of course, we're pro-choice here. At the same time, we have seen through history that unexpected things can happen.
LaRiche wants to remind people that elections matter.
A subsequent legislature could come in after the next election, and if that legislature were made up of people who were a majority opposition to abortion rights, they could make the decision to repeal the reproductive rights bill that's currently on the books.
Adams wants women to know they are not alone.
Vermont is a small state. There are women all over this country who are going to be put in really, really bad positions. And I think we can lead the way and show what's possible, but we have to fight for the whole country.
In November, the Reproductive Liberty Amendment will appear on the statewide ballot. Reporting live in Essex Junction, Dana Casulo, Local 22 News.
Dana mentioned Prop 5. Well, Governor Phil Scott today said Vermont has prepared for the possibility of what that draft document entails. Local 22's Sam Israel heard the governor's remarks, and he is now live from the newsroom tonight. Sam?
Well, Lauren, the Vermont governor says he would be disappointed with the Supreme Court's decision. He believes that women have the right to choose. The Republican governor is at odds with members of his own party. He considers himself to be, quote, a moderate centrist. He says the fundamental rights of women will be defended, protected, and preserved in Vermont. Abortion would still be legal in Vermont if the Supreme Court decides to overturn Roe v. Wade.
This holds true would be devastating for our rights here in the country, and I think it would have a ripple effect across all areas of our civil rights.
Scott passed a law several years ago that reaffirms reproductive health decisions are between a patient and their doctor without government interference. Vermonters will be able to vote on a personal reproductive amendment to its state constitution, which will appear on the ballots in November. Reporting from the newsroom tonight, Sam Israel, Local 22 News.
And we will, of course, have more on the future of Roe v. Wade in just a few minutes. But first, a local university's pride flag is missing. The interim president has now put out a statement on yesterday's vandalism at NVU.